So throughout this class, we've been using all these functions like average or st underscore buffer or anything like that. And those are functions that were created for us that are inside Postgres and PostGIS. One of the nice things about SQL is we can start to create our own functions. So we're going to build a function in this lesson, but I want to start a little bit slower because functions can be confusing. So let's take this slow. Now, if you go into the help directions in Postgres or just do a whole bunch of different search engines on creating functions in Postgres, it will lay out for you kind of how to do this because there's lots of various ways. And I want to be just quick about this because I want to see or let you see that it's actually possible for you to create some functions. So typically we will create a function and then we tell it what we want that function to do, or at least what we want to pass into that function. For example, stbuffer, which you see here. stbuffer requires a geometry and a double precision number. So I want to buffer a geometry by a certain amount. So we pass those values in. So here I'm creating, and here's another nice thing too, create or replace function, because sometimes I realize there's something different that I want to get out of my function. So in this case, I can make changes and then not have to delete a function because it already exists. So I'm saying create or replace function, and I'm going to call it get ACCTS or get accounts. I want to get the parcel key number. And I need to tell it what it's going to return. So that's going to return a set of text as, and then in between the $ is the query that I'm writing. And I have to then tell it the language I'm using is SQL. Now, I'm passing it some text here. That's one variable. So the first variable is what gets passed in. So I'm saying select parcel key from PC parcel where prop class is equal to a $. And then when that's done, we'll have our actual function. So I can say select get accounts. So let's run this function. That returns successfully. It's completed. Now I can say, let me get the accounts. Now I'm going to pass the residential text here. Right? Here's some text in here. That's going to get passed in, and that's that first variable again. So I'm going to get the accounts that are residential. Let's run that. And there it is. That's done. So that was pretty easy, but again, it was basic. It's not doing much, but it just gives you the idea of how we can pass variables in. Now we can expand that a little bit further, and let's look at these examples we've been creating before, where we were looking at the parcels that are in certain flood zones. So again, very similar, create or replace function, and I'm going to call it getFlood, and I'm passing a value in called X, and it's text. And that's going to return a table, okay? And the table has the parcel key and the text as a $. Select the parcel key from the parcels and the floods where the parcels geom intersects the flood zones, and the flood zone is equal to that particular value that I passed in. So once again, let's run this query. And that's completed. So now I can say select get flood, and I'm going to pass it the X500. So now it's finding those parcels that are intersecting the X500 flood zone. Now I want to make a couple of little changes here. Why don't we got the parcel key, but why don't we get the geometry as well? So I have the same function, but let's add a couple of things. So we're going to return a table, but not just parcel key. How about geom, which is a type geometry, and the parcel key. Now, what do I want to select? Well, I want to select the tc parcel.geom and the parcel key from, and we can actually hit the character term, make this a little clearer here. So now we're going to run this. Now you're going to see we're going to get an error, and I'm going to explain that error to you in just a moment. Actually, I ran this. What I have to do is first replace the function. So let's run that. And you see we can't change the return type of an existing function. The function we had originally created just returned the parcel key. Now we're returning the geom. So it tells me I have to use drop function get flood text. So that's all I'm doing here. That's done. And now I'm going to create my function. That's done. And now I can run my function here. And that's completed. And then I can take a look at the map of where the particular parcels are that meet that criteria. The other thing I can do, of course, because it is a function just like any other, is I can say st transform geom 4326 as geom, and we'll get the parcel key. And let's run this. Well, it certainly does help if I spell it correctly, doesn't it? Transform. And let's run that. There we go. Now, when I click on this, we now have the OpenStreetMap behind us because I've on the fly projected it into latitude and longitude. So there's some real power in creating functions like this. And again, I can also say AE if I wanted, and run this. And then we can take a look at our data. And these are the ones in the AE zone. But you can see there's really a lot of power in creating these functions. So we just scratched the surface. It's barely enough to really get your feet wet. But at least it's going to show you that the basics of how you create a function and how you can modify it.